The first strike. The night was quiet above Earth. Cities glowed with lights, oceans moved in silence, and people slept without knowing what was coming. High above the clouds, far beyond the moon, something entered the system. At first, no one noticed. Astronomers thought it was just a comet or a piece of space rock drifting past. But when the object slowed down instead of moving naturally, fear spread among the scientists. In secret control rooms, alarms rang. Radar stations picked up strange signals. The object was not a comet. It was a fleet. The first warships of the alien armada broke out of the void, massive shadows against the stars. They looked like mountains of metal, sharp, cold, and filled with weapons humanity had never seen. They were not here to talk. They were not here to trade. They were here to conquer. The attack began without warning. Over the skies of Tokyo, New York, and Moscow, the night exploded. Bolts of light fell from the heavens, tearing through skyscrapers. Entire districts turned into fire in seconds. People ran in panic, streets filled with screams, cars crashed, buildings collapsed, and the world turned into chaos. Military forces tried to respond. Fighter jets launched into the air, but they were cut down like flies. The alien weapons were too fast, too precise. Tanks rolled into the cities, but they melted under beams of plasma fire. Humanity's proud defenses looked like toys in front of the invaders. In space, Earth's satellites were the first to be destroyed. Thousands of them turned into burning debris, raining down into the atmosphere. Communication lines broke. Governments lost contact with armies. Civilian networks went dark. In minutes, the world was half blind and deaf. Inside the Pentagon, generals stared at screens that flickered with static. "They hit everywhere at once," one officer said, his voice shaking. Red dots filled the map. Every major capital, every industrial hub, every power plant was under attack. The enemy knew exactly where to strike. Across the oceans, warships of the Earth's navies tried to fight back. Missiles launched into the sky, tearing upward, but most were intercepted before they even reached the alien ships. The water itself burned when plasma blasts slammed into battleships, turning them into floating wrecks. The aliens moved with terrifying confidence. They did not just want victory. They wanted to break the human spirit. They broadcast their attacks, live on hacked communication channels. On every surviving screen, humans saw their cities burning. On every radio frequency, alien voices echoed in a language no one understood. It was a message of dominance. But inside the terror, something strange happened. Humanity did not fall silent. Instead, the screams turned into roars of defiance. Firefighters pulled people from ruins. Soldiers who lost their tanks grabbed rifles and fought in the streets. Civilians formed rescue lines, pulling strangers from fire. The enemy thought fear would paralyze the humans, but it only made them angrier. In London, as alien ships hovered over the city, small groups of resistance fighters used old anti-air weapons. Most failed, but one missile hit. The crowd cheered when the alien craft wavered, its armor smoking. For the first time, they realized the invaders were not gods. They could bleed, yet the cost was heavy. Millions were dead within the first hours. Smoke covered the skies. The blue planet that once looked peaceful from space now looked like a battlefield. In a darkened bunker beneath Colorado, the President of the United States sat with his advisors. His face was pale, his hands trembling, but his voice was firm. "They attacked first, they came with fire, but we will not kneel, we will not surrender." His words were transmitted to the few working networks left. Around the world, people listened. Soldiers, children, refugees, all of them heard the Mio promise. Humanity would fight. Above, the alien commander watched the chaos with cold amusement. To him, this was only the beginning. His species had crushed dozens of worlds before, each one falling faster than the last. Earth was just another target, another victory. He looked at the burning cities and smiled. But deep inside the human heart, something was awakening. Fear was strong, yes, but stronger was the will to resist. Stronger was the need to protect their home. Stronger was the fire hidden in every human soul. And as the first strike ended, the world stood at the edge of its darkest night. Humanity seemed broken, but in the shadows, plans were already forming. Secrets were waiting to be unleashed. The aliens thought they had already won, but they were wrong, because Earth had not yet answered. The hidden arsenal, the smoke of the suspense. First strike still hung over the cities when whispers began spreading across underground bunkers and secret bases. The world thought it was broken. The aliens believed victory was already in their hands. But deep inside Earth, far away from the burning skies, something was waiting. Hidden beneath mountains, buried under oceans, and locked behind steel doors. Thicker than battleships, humanity had been keeping a secret for decades. They had always feared a day like this might come. Not from these aliens, no one had imagined their exact form, but from something out there in the endless dark. In a facility under the Nevada desert, a huge chamber rumbled awake. Lights blinked to life, generators roared, and behind walls of reinforced concrete, giant shapes began to move. They were machines built in silence, projects whispered about only by a few in the highest ranks of command. Codename, Project Aegis. In the control room, General Hayes stood with sweat on his forehead, staring at the screens as the enormous weapons powered up. He had been waiting his whole career for this moment, though he had prayed it would never come. "They thought we were weak," he said, his voice low but steady. "They thought we would break. Now, we show them what Earth has been hiding." Far across the world, other nations were doing the same. In Russia, silos hidden under Siberian ice opened with a hiss. In China, vast underground hangars revealed rows of experimental aircraft shaped like daggers. In Europe, deep tunnels under the Alps hummed with the awakening of railgun cannons that could fire projectiles faster than sound. Humanity had been divided for centuries, but against this enemy, unity was no longer a choice. It was survival. Meanwhile, in orbit above, the alien commander grew puzzled. He had seen Earth's armies break in the first hours. Their planes had fallen, their ships had burned. Yet now, strange signals echoed from deep within the planet. Encrypted transmissions he could not decode, energy spikes he had not predicted. His cold eyes narrowed. "What are they hiding?" he muttered. Back on Earth, scientists worked furiously in labs that had been hidden from the public for years. They had always known human creativity was their only true weapon. They had studied alien signals from deep space long before contact. They had built weapons not to conquer but to prepare. Humanity's history was filled with wars, each one teaching them to never be caught unready again. And now those lessons were rising from the dark. The first test came in the Pacific. A massive alien warship hovered above the waves, its cannons glowing, ready to strike at what was left of a coastal city. Suddenly, the ocean erupted. A submarine, unlike any the world had known, broke the surface. Sleek, black and silent, it fired a weapon that no one had ever seen before. The projectile screamed through the sky, leaving a trail of blue fire. It struck the alien warship and tore straight through its shield. For the first time, one of the massive invader vessels split apart, its burning remains crashing into the sea. On the shore, the surviving humans screamed in joy. The news spread like lightning. "We hit them. We can fight back." In the bunkers, officers clenched their fists. This was only the beginning. One by one, the hidden arsenals came to life. In the deserts, massive cannons rose from the ground, launching steel slugs that punched holes through alien armor. In the skies, experimental jets, machines no civilian had ever seen, blazed upward, faster than the enemy expected. Some were destroyed instantly, but others broke through, blasting alien fighters out of the air. The world that had seemed broken only hours ago now burned with a different fire: defiance. In a small town in Poland, a boy watched from a ruined rooftop as a new kind of human aircraft streaked across the clouds, chasing alien ships. His father whispered, "They thought we were finished. But look, Earth fights back." The alien commander slammed his clawed hand against the control rail of his ship. For the first time, his calm expression cracked. He had crushed countless worlds, but never had a planet turned so quickly from prey to predator. His officers spoke, nervously in their strange tongue, their eyes darting at the displays showing lost warships. "This is impossible," one hissed. They were weak. "They are human," the commander growled, "and humans are never what they seem." But even as the first victories lifted human spirits, the danger was far from over. The arsenal was powerful, yes, but the aliens still outnumbered them. Their technology was still advanced. And somewhere in their fleet, deeper and darker weapons were waiting to be unleashed. Still in the bunkers, in the burning cities, and even in the hearts of those who had lost everything, hope sparked like fire in dry grass. Humanity had teeth, hidden sharp in the dark, and now those teeth had bitten back. The war was no longer a slaughter. It was a battle. And the aliens were about to learn that Earth's firepower was only the beginning. The first counterattack. The ocean still boiled with wreckage and the skies were full of smoke, but now, for the first time, the humans had a chance to strike back. The hidden arsenals were awake, the secret machines were ready, and commanders across the globe were preparing something the aliens had not expected: a united counterattack. In an underground base beneath Norway's icy mountains, a war council gathered. Generals from nations that had once been rivals now stood shoulder to shoulder. The air smelled of metal and fuel, screens glowed with maps, and voices shook with urgency. They knew this might be humanity's only chance. General Hayes spoke first. His face was hard, but his voice carried a fire. "They think we are broken," he said. "They think Earth will bow. Tonight we show them who we are. We strike back, not to survive, but to win." Around the table, no one argued. There was no time for politics, no space for pride. Every leader, every officer, every scientist agreed. Earth's first counterattack would be everything they had. Outside, in hangars carved into mountainsides, human war machines roared awake. Jets with wings sharper than knives lined up on runways. Tanks that could climb ruined cities rumbled forward. Railguns, cannons, and missiles, old weapons mixed with new prototypes, were loaded and armed. Civilians who had been running yesterday now stood with rifles, determined to defend every street. Humanity was uniting like never before. Above the Earth, the alien fleet prepared for another wave of destruction. They had seen the resistance grow, but in their arrogance, they still believed the humans were fragile. The alien commander sneered as he ordered his ships to move closer to the atmosphere. He wanted Earth to burn completely. But this time, Earth was ready. The first strike came in orbit. From hidden launch silos, Earth's prototype warships rose, like shadows into space. They were not as large as the alien cruisers, nor as polished. Their hulls were rough, their engines roared too loud, but they carried weapons designed with desperate human creativity. One warship, named Valiant, locked onto an alien destroyer. Its crew worked with shaking hands but unbreakable resolve. "Fire railgun!" the captain shouted. The ship trembled as a massive slug tore out of its cannon, flying faster than sound. The alien shields flared, struggled, and shattered. Doin, a blinding explosion. The alien ship cracked apart, its pieces scattering like broken glass into the void. Cheers erupted on the Valiant. For the first time, humans had destroyed an enemy ship in open space. At the same time, in the skies over Africa, swarms of human jets rose to meet alien fighters. The air thundered with the roar of engines. Pilots knew their chances were slim, but they fought with a ferocity the aliens had never faced. They moved like hawks, diving through fire, launching missiles, and striking with impossible daring. One squadron even lured alien fighters into a storm cloud, where lightning interfered with their targeting systems, giving humans a chance to strike back. On the ground, resistance fighters in Paris set up an ambush. Using hidden anti-air weapons and even simple traps, they brought down smaller alien craft. Streets filled with smoke and rubble, but the cheers of survivors echoed louder than the explosions. Humanity was no longer running, it was fighting. The alien commander watched all of this with narrowing eyes. Ship after ship on his display, flickered with damage. Entire squadrons were vanishing under the unexpected fury of the humans. His claws clenched on the rail of his command deck. "How?" he snarled. "How do they resist like this?" One of his officers hesitated. "Commander, they adapt." The commander bared his teeth. Adaptation. That was something his kind had never faced before. Other species had crumbled after the first blow, but humans refused to die quietly. The battle raged for hours. Flames lit the skies, seas turned red with fire, and the earth shook from explosions. Both sides suffered losses, but unlike before, the humans were no longer helpless prey. They were predators, striking back with claws of steel and fire. In the middle of the chaos, an old soldier named Captain Elias led a squad through the ruins of New York. His rifle was almost out of ammo. His body was bruised, but his voice carried strength. "We don't stop," he shouted to his men. "Every step we take, every bullet we fire is a message. They will never own this world." His words spread through radios, reaching soldiers and civilians alike, giving them strength to keep fighting. By dawn, the world looked different. Entire cities were still burning, but now alien wreckage lay among the ruins. Their invincible image was broken. For the first time, the invaders had tasted fear. From orbit, the alien commander gave a single order: "Bring out the superweapon." His officers froze, staring at him in shock. The superweapon was not meant to be used yet. It was devastating, dangerous, and even the aliens feared its power. But their pride had been wounded, and their commander could not accept weakness. Karate. Below, humanity celebrated small victories. Families embraced in underground shelters, soldiers raised broken flags over ruins, and whispers spread. "We can win. We can fight them." But no one knew what was coming next. The aliens had underestimated Earth once. They would not do it again. And in the silence before the next storm, the planet braced itself. The first counterattack had shaken the galaxy, but the real war was only beginning. The turning point. The morning after the counterattack, Earth stood in a fragile balance. Smoke covered the skies, alien wreckage burned in oceans and fields, and human survivors whispered with new hope. For the first time, they had seen the invaders bleed. But the hope was thin, trembling like a candle in the wind. Far above the planet, the alien commander's eyes burned with rage. He had underestimated the humans, and his pride could not allow it. He turned to his officers and gave the order none of them expected: "Prepare the Oblivion Core." The command deck fell silent. Even the alien officers shifted uneasily. The Oblivion Core was no ordinary weapon. It was forbidden. Its energy could shatter continents. Its blast could scorch entire atmospheres. It was meant only as a last resort, but the commander's fury left no room for caution. "If Earth refuses to bow," he growled, "then we erase it." Meanwhile, on Earth, humans were celebrating small victories. In underground shelters, families embraced. Soldiers raised torn flags over ruins, promising their people that the fight was not over. In a bunker beneath London, leaders spoke of counteroffensives. Their voices carried determination, but none of them knew what was coming. High above, alien ships began to move into formation. At first, human radars showed nothing unusual. Then, energy spikes appeared, so massive that the screens blurred with static. Scientists stared in horror. This is impossible," one whispered. "The energy is enough to split the planet's crust." The warning came too late. In orbit, the sky lit up with a sphere of violet fire. The Oblivion Core awakened. Its glow spread across the darkness like a second sun, cold and merciless. Beams of unstable energy began to focus, all pointing toward Earth. Panic erupted across the command centers. Alarms screamed. Radios crackled with desperate voices. Generals shouted over each other, searching for a plan. But how do you fight? A weapon that could burn a world? In the Nevada facility, General Hayes slammed his fist against the table. If that thing fires, everything is over. We have one chance. We hit it before it hits us. Project Aegis, the hidden arsenal, was powerful, but this was different. This was beyond anything they had prepared for. Still, humanity had no choice. They had to try. Orders flew. Railguns on the ground locked onto the glowing sphere in the sky. Warships in orbit redirected their weapons. Pilots in experimental jets were given a single command: protect the strike. They knew many of them would not return, but none hesitated. The first barrage tore upward. Missiles, slugs, and plasma cannons streaked through the atmosphere. The aliens reacted instantly, unleashing their interceptors. The sky turned into chaos. Metal against metal, fire against fire. Explosions lit the night as human fighters clashed with alien escorts, buying precious seconds. One human warship, the Resolute, broke through the defense line. Its captain's voice was calm, but grim. Target locked, firing main cannon. The railgun roared, hurling a projectile the size of a bus straight toward the glowing sphere. For a moment it seemed the shot would hit. Humanity held its breath. Then a wall of alien shielding flared. The projectile disintegrated before it reached the core. The humans had failed. On Earth, screens flickered with the image of the violet sun, growing brighter, preparing to fire. Cities fell silent. People held their children, waiting for the end. Even the soldiers in the trenches felt despair claw at their hearts. But then something unexpected happened. Deep within the Alps, one of the oldest experimental projects powered up, a prototype weapon no one had dared to test before. It was a railgun combined with experimental gravity technology, so unstable it had been buried and forgotten. But desperate times burn away fear. Scientists worked furiously, rerouting power from entire regions into the machine. Lights went dark across cities, but the cannon charged. Its barrel shook, its coil screamed, and the mountain itself trembled. "Fire," whispered the lead scientist. The cannon unleashed a single shot. One beam of pure energy bent by gravity itself. It tore through the atmosphere, cutting across, space like a spear. It struck the alien shielding around the core. The shield flared, cracked, and shattered. The Oblivion core flickered. Its glow wavered. On the alien command deck, the commander's calm broke at last. His officers shouted warnings, but his rage drowned them. "Stabilize it," he roared. But the weapon was no longer under control. The violet sphere pulsed wildly, leaking streams of fire. It was like watching a star collapse and explode at the same time. Humans on Earth looked up in awe and terror. Some fell to their knees, praying. Others clenched their fists, knowing this was their chance. General Hayes gave the final order. "Everything we have, fire now." From Earth and orbit, humanity unleashed its full fury. Railguns, missiles, cannons, all of it rained toward the unstable core. The alien defenses faltered. The weapon screamed, cracked, and finally imploded. The explosion lit the night brighter than the sun. For a moment, the world went silent. When the light faded, the Oblivion core was gone. The alien fleet was scattered, many ships torn apart by the shockwave. Earth still burned, but it was not destroyed. Humanity had survived the impossible. In the ruins of the command bunker, exhausted soldiers cheered. Tears ran down faces. The people who had been ready to die were now shouting with defiance. But among the celebration, the leaders knew the truth. The war was not over. The aliens were still out there, and their pride had been wounded deeper than ever. They would not stop. They would return with vengeance. And humanity, for all its hidden weapons, had only just begun to fight. Earth's final answer, the remains of the Oblivion core still drifted in orbit, glowing like dying embers. Across Earth, people looked up at the sky, stunned that their world still existed. They had survived the weapon meant to erase them. For the first time since the invasion began, humans felt not just hope, but power. But the war was not finished. From the shattered fleet, the alien commander's flagship still loomed, massive and unbroken, Its jagged hull bristled with weapons, its engines burned with fury. The commander stared at the destruction of his superweapon, his face twisted with rage. Never before had his species been challenged like this. Never before had prey turned hunter. "They defied us," he hissed. His clawed hand tightened on the command rail. "Then let them see the fire of my flagship. We end this with blood." The alien fleet regrouped, what remained of their warships moving into formation. Though damaged, they were still powerful, still deadly. And now their commander's pride demanded Earth's complete destruction. On the ground, Earth's leaders gathered in their bunkers. Exhausted, scarred, but unbroken, they understood what was coming. General Hayes leaned over the war table, his voice firm. "The Corps is gone, but their commander still lives. He won't stop until we finish him. This is it. We strike their mothership. One last assault." Around the world, orders spread like wildfire. Every surviving warship, every fighter jet, every hidden cannon was mobilized. Civilians prayed, soldiers prepared, and engineers pushed broken machines back into service. The world had no more secrets left. This was everything humanity had. In orbit, the battle began. The sky filled with streaks of fire as human warships rose from Earth, smaller and fewer than the alien vessels, but burning with defiance. Jets launched from hidden carriers, weaving between wreckage. Railguns on the surface fired upward, their shots piercing the void. The alien flagship opened fire, its cannons unleashing storms of plasma that tore through the blackness. Human ships were struck, some exploding instantly, others limping onward, with burning hulls. But they did not retreat. Each loss only pushed the survivors harder. The Valiant and the Resolute, the two strongest human warships left, charged directly at the flagship. Their captains knew the risk. They would not survive this. But survival was no longer the goal. Victory was. Inside the flagship, the alien commander sneered. "Pathetic humans," he said, throwing themselves into death. But even as he spoke, his officers shifted nervously. The humans did not act like prey. They acted like predators cornered, ready to strike with everything they had. The battle turned brutal. Human fighters darted through the enemy fleet, targeting weak spots, guiding missiles into engines. Resistance fighters on the ground hacked alien communications, feeding false signals that confused enemy targeting. Every ounce of human creativity was used as a weapon. Then, the moment came. The Resolute, its hull burning, rammed through the alien defense line, opening a path straight to the flagship. Its captain gave one last command before the ship exploded. "Tell them Earth fights forever." Through the breach, the Valiant soared. With its railgun charged to maximum, it lined up with the alien flagship's core reactor. The captain's voice shook but was steady. "For Earth. Fire." The shot tore through the void, smashing into the flagship's heart. The alien shields cracked, shattered, and then the ship erupted in a wave of fire. The explosion lit the night sky, brighter than dawn. Pieces of the alien commander's vessel rained across orbit, burning like falling stars. The commander himself vanished in the fire, his pride consumed with his ship. On Earth, people saw the light and erupted into cheers. From ruined cities to hidden bunkers, survivors screamed in triumph. Flags were raised, soldiers wept, and families embraced. Humanity had stood on the edge of extinction and answered with fire the galaxy had never imagined. In the silence that followed, the remaining alien ships broke formation. Without their leader, without their flagship, their courage faltered. Some fled into the dark, engines blazing. Others surrendered, their weapons dead, their pride crushed. General Hayes watched the reports with weary eyes. His body trembled with exhaustion, but a faint smile crossed his face. "They thought we would fall," he whispered. "But Earth never falls." The war was not without cost. Entire cities were ash, millions were gone, and scars would remain for generations. But out of the ruins, humanity stood taller than ever before, stronger, united. And somewhere in the stars, across the galaxy, others were watching. Other species, who had lived in fear of the alien empire, now saw something new. They saw Earth, bloodied, scarred, but unbroken. They saw a world that refused to kneel. A message had been written in fire across the cosmos. They attacked first, but Earth answered.